Canto 33. Summary. The pilgrim has come home. Ascending through the seven spheres, the stars, the prima mobile, and the mystic rose of the Empyrean, Dante stands before the supreme light, and finally beholds the beatific vision, the final end of his entire journey. The canto opens with Bernard praying to Mary, asking her to prepare Dante for the vision he is about to receive. As he brings his prayer to an end, calling on Mary to see Beatrice and all the rest who are likewise praying for Dante, Mary turns her own gaze back upon the light. Dante follows suit, drawing near to the end of all desires. Over and over again the poet tries to communicate how insufficient words are to describe something so ineffable. However, he does find words for two key aspects of the beatific vision. First, he sees contained in the supreme light, as if bound in one volume, the leaves that through the universe are strewn. In other words, Dante sees in God the ultimate form of everything. Every object, every thing, finds its origination in God, who is the speaker and creator of all things. He is the universal form, as Dante says. Here is where ultimate goodness, the object of the will, is found. And in beholding this within God's eternal being, he finds abundant joy and contentment, for he is seeing that which gives everything its fundamental meaning. The second aspect of the vision the poet tries to communicate is a picture of the Trinity itself. Within the light he discerns three circles, or rings. The first seems to be reflected in the second, and the third appears to be breathed forth by the first two. This is classic Trinitarian doctrine. The Son is the eternal image of the Father, and the Spirit is he who proceeds from the Father and the Son. With the Father and the Son is worshipped and glorified, to quote the Nicene Creed in its Western form. As the pilgrim continues to look, he sees that the second circle bears the image of man, our effigy. This is the Son, the God-man, Jesus Christ, the object of Dante's faith, and now sight. He tries to figure out how his twin nature works exactly, but finds he is like the geometer trying to square the circle. It cannot be reasoned to by the human intellect. Dante does not have wings that suffice for that flight. Instead, his desire is simply given to him through the heavenly flash of revelation. It is at this moment, when he has seen the real end of all desire, the one by whom and through whom and for whom all things were made, that his vision collapses. Having seen God face to face in Christ, there is nothing left to see. However, it does not fail before the beatific vision has accomplished its purpose. As a balanced wheel, Dante's will and affections are at long last in harmony with God's. Indeed, love himself turns them, the love that moves the sun and other stars. Canto 33. The Beatific Vision. Virgin Mother, daughter of your own Son, most humble and exalted of creatures, the fixed goal of his eternal counsel, you are she who so dignified human nature that its maker did not disdain to make himself from his own creation. In your womb love once more kindled himself. Beneath the warmth of his eternal peace, this rose-like flower blossoms and bears fruit. For us above you are a noonday torch of charity, and for mortals below you are a spirited fountain of hope. Lady, you are so grand and so worthy, whoever desires grace, yet asks you not, his yearning wishes to fly without wings. Your benignity not only succors the one who beseeches, but oftentimes willingly speeds ahead of the request. In you benevolence, in you pity, in you magnificence, in you gathers whatever is of goodness in creatures. Now this one, who from the lowest cavern of the universe to here has beheld living spirits, one after another, brings his supplication to you by grace for such strength that with his eyes he might rise higher and higher toward ultimate health. And I, who have never burned for my sight more than I do for his, offer to you all my prayers, and pray they are not lacking, so that with your prayers for him you dispel every dark cloud of his mortality, that joy supreme might be to him revealed. Once again I pray you, Queen, who can do what you desire, keep his affections safe, following after so great a vision. Let your protection conquer human change. See Beatrice, with so many blessed souls, clasping their hands before you for my prayers. Those eyes, loved and venerated by God, and fixed on the speaker, displayed for us how much devout prayers are welcomed by her. And then they rose up to the eternal light, into which none ought believe that the eye of any creature is as clearly sent. Approaching to the end of all desires, I brought the ardor of my desiring, just as I ought, unto the uttermost. Bernard was motioning to me with smiles, so that I might gaze upward, but I was myself already doing what he wished, because my sight, becoming whole and pure, had entered more and more along the ray of that high light, who of himself is true. From that time on my vision grew more clear than words can show, which failed at such a sight, as does the memory at such largesse. As is the one who sees, when dreaming dreams, and afterward the passion still remains, though nothing of the dream comes back to mind. The same is true of me, for almost all my vision ceases, though the sweetness born amidst the sight still drips within my heart. So does the snow beneath the sun dissolve. So did the Sibyl's sentence disappear upon the wind, inscribed on airborne leaves. O light supreme, who over mortal thoughts have raised yourself so high, grant to my mind once more a glimpse of your appearance there, and make this tongue of mine so powerful that it might leave behind one spark alone of your glory for people yet to come. For by returning to my memory and sounding but a little in these lines, your victory will be the more perceived. I know the sharpness of the living ray which I endured would have unraveled me if once my eyes were turned away from it. It brings to mind how bold I then became, because of this, to hold that gaze until my sight arrived at the unbounded worth. O grace abundant, wherein I presumed to fix my eyes on the eternal light so raptly that my vision was consumed. Within his depth I saw contained in him, within a single volume bound with love, the leaves that through the universe are strewn, both substances and accidents as fused with their relationships, in such a way that what I speak of is a simple light. I saw, I think, the universal form of this one knot, for speaking of these things I feel myself abundantly content. That moment brings me more forgetfulness than 25 ages brought that feat when Neptune wondered at the Argo's shade. So too my mind, entirely absorbed, was gazing fixed, immovable, intent, and always brightening within that gaze. A man is so transformed within that light, it is impossible he would consent to turn from him and for another sight, because the good, the object of the will, is wholly housed therein. What there is whole is thus inadequate outside of him. And now my speech about what I recall will be cut shorter than an infant's coos, whose tongue still bathes upon his mother's breast. And not because of other aspects there within the living light I gazed upon, that such is always as it was before, but rather through my vision growing strong as I observed, one sole appearance was transformed for me, as I myself was changed. Within the bright, profound subsistence of that highest light, 3 rings appeared to me, in colors 3, but in dimension 1. The first reflected in the second seemed, as bow within a bow, the third seemed fire, and by the others equally breathed forth. How brief is speech, how weak for my conceit! And this compared with what I saw is such that calling it too small is not enough. O light eternal, who indwells yourself alone, known by yourself alone, and on yourself self-known, self-knowing, loves and smiles. That second circle which appeared in you to be conceived of light reflecting light, observed but all too briefly by my eyes, within itself and with its coloring, to me seemed painted with our effigy. Therefore on it my sight was wholly placed. As are geometers who set themselves to square the circle and cannot obtain by reasoning the principle they need, the same was I to this new spectacle. I long to see just how the image fit within the ring, how there it finds its place. But my own proper wings would not suffice, had not a bolt of lightning struck my mind wherein the whole of its desire came down. Here failed the strength of my high fantasy. Already though my will and my desire were as a balanced wheel is moved, turned by the love that moves the sun and other stars.